Hiya.
Hello, how are
Hello.
you?
How are you?
I'm good. And here.
And
At
here.
work.
Yes. Thank you
Mm,
for joining this morning. That's great.
yes. I'm up and being productive.
Mm. So what's new with you? What's been happening?
Um, I don't know. I haven't done much except for work, really, last week.
What
I
did you
think
do
that,
yesterday?
yeah, I mean, we did go to the city and walk around and have ramen and do some shopping. One of my friends has just moved into a new place, so yeah, she bought stuff. I bought stuff, obviously.
Please tell me to buy any sheets.
No, no more sheets. I still haven't gotten to cleaning them out, so yes.
Yeah. Meenal's got some sort of fetish for sheets. And then she's got lots of sheets she's not even opened.
Yes, I've given most of them away actually, because yeah, I figured that if I haven't opened them already, I'm not going to be using them. So I've had them for a while.
All right. Okay. Mm.
Yes, part of my what it was it called? Marie Kondoing.
Oh, Marie Kondo. I love that woman. I love this. I
Mm.
love how she organizes a space.
I haven't actually seen any of her episodes.
Oh, you have to watch them. I mean, there's not many on Netflix. Well, there wasn't when I looked. I
No.
literally watched them all whilst I'm cleaning. Have them on in the background. Um,
Inspiration. How was
yeah.
your week?
Uh, yeah, good. I went out with some friends for dinner. It was really nice to see them. And
Oh
we had
yeah.
this amazing Indian meal. So I think
Oh,
it's Southeast Indian.
mm,
And honestly, oh, I was so full. They do all these banquets. Like you could pick a banquet I think is really good. Like it's four to choose from.
mm.
I'm just like, oh, special occasion, we'll choose the best one. So they bring out all these different little starters. And honestly, I thought we'd finish the meal. I would say we're like five starters in, only really tiny, like a little
Yeah.
piece each. And I'm like, oh, I'm really full now. That was really good. Thinking that's with look at dessert. And then they're like, right, we'll bring the main meal now. Like, oh my goodness.
Oh,
So
okay.
well. But it was really, really, yeah, it's really tasty food. It's like, yeah, one of the best Indian restaurants that I've been to here.
Mm.
And then we finished up with we shared a dessert, like a rice pudding. And we had I had chai, I'm really into my chai. I made a really lovely chai tea. So it was nice, thank you.
Yes, I have seen this whole sticky chai situation.
Mm,
I don't know what that means.
it's a big deal, right? I totally got into it. But then I went off caffeine and then it became more difficult to find a decaffeinated chai. But yeah, sticky chais are like a phenomenon. I don't
What
know if it's just here or wherever.
is it different to normal chai?
Oh, it's just sticky because they put honey in it already.
Oh,
So like, it's the chai, the tea, the herbs, and then they'll add honey to it already. So it's like the sticky stuff. That's it. And then you don't actually need to add honey, but it's already got it in it. It's already in there. Anyway, there it
nice.
is. Mm,
I don't think I've ever had it, but yes.
try it. You should try it. It's lovely. It's lovely. All
Mm.
right. So what stories have you got for me this week, Mina?
Okay. So the first one is from the BBC,
Hmm.
and the title is that Inuit Greenlanders demand answers over Danish birth control scandal, which, yeah, you wouldn't, I don't know why I never thought that something like this wouldn't happen in somewhere like Denmark or Greenland, but anyway.
Inuit.
Inuit, yes.
Inuits.
Yes.
Never heard that.
I have I have heard, and I was trying to find it, because there's Inuit, I think, and Inuit, and
Hmm.
one is the plural form, but I haven't been able to find the original source where I saw it, so I can't tell which one is which. So I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Denmark and Greenland have formally agreed to launch a 2-year investigation into historic birth control practices carried out over many years on Inuit Greenlanders by Danish doctors. So recently, they've realized that thousands of Inuit women and girls were fitted with intrauterine devices, so IUDs, commonly known as a coil during the 1960s and 70s. It is a contraceptive device placed inside the womb or uterus to prevent pregnancy. Among the women and girls fitted with the IUD was Naja Laybirth, I think. It was in the 1970s that a doctor told Naja, who believes she was just aged 13 at the time, to go to her local hospital to have a coil implanted following a routine school medical examination. I really didn't know what it was because he never explained or got my permission, says Naja, who at the time was living in, oh, wow, I'm going to butcher this one, Maniitsko, a small town in Greenland, west coast. Sorry about my pronunciation. I was afraid I couldn't tell my parents. She says I was a virgin. I had never even kissed a boy. Now 60, Naja is one of the first to speak out about what happened. Jeez. I can remember the doctors in white coats, and maybe there was a nurse, and I saw the metal things, which identifies as stirrups, where you spread your legs. It was very frightening. The equipment the doctors used was so big for my child body. It was like having knives inside me. Naja says her parents' permission was not sought and that her classmates were also sent to the hospital, but did not talk about it because it was too shocking. She has set up a Facebook group to allow women to share their common experiences and help each other with the trauma. More than 70 women have joined. In a recent podcast, and I think there's a traditional way of saying it, but in English, it was COIL campaign, found records indicating that up to 4,500 women and girls, roughly half of all the fertile females, had an IUD implanted in Greenland between 1966 and 1970, but the procedure continued into the mid-1970s. Of these, it's unclear how many cases lacked consent and proper explanation. I'm thinking most, like among these things. Among the affected girls as young as 12, several have stated publicly that they were not properly informed. Some women unable to have children suspect the coil is to blame. So many women contact me, says Naja. It seems that the younger the girls were, the more complications they get from the coil. It's so sad. Well, obviously, I don't think it's designed to be placed in someone who is 12 years old. Arnania Gupilson had a coil fitted when she was 16, not in Greenland, but on Danish soil. She was studying at a boarding school for Greenlandic children on the island of Bornholm in 1974. They didn't ask me before the procedure, and I had no idea what it was all about and what the coil was. She could only travel home once a year and is certain her parents were not consulted. She describes suffering pains, and she says she had the coil removed when she returned home to Greenland a year later, age 17. I feel that I didn't get a choice back then, and I cannot accept that. The 64-year-old says tearfully, how would people react if it was a Danish woman instead of a Greenlandic woman? There was little knowledge of birth control program in either Greenland or Denmark, and the reports have caused shock and indignation. Now a committee will examine the pregnancy prevention practices carried out by Danish health authorities between 1960 and 1991, both in Greenland and in schools in Denmark where Greenlandic students went. Greenland's government only took control of the health policy from Copenhagen in 1992. In a statement on Friday, Danish health minister said that the investigation would shed light on their decisions leading up to the practice and how it was carried out. He said that he had met several of the women affected, adding the pain physically and emotionally that they have experienced is still here today. Well, obviously, these women are now in their 60s, obviously. Greenland transitioned from a colony to a country of Denmark in 1953. Sweeping modernization plans ushered in better healthcare and living conditions, life expectancy and newborn survival rates improved. But those successes brought other challenges, says Søren Ruud, a historian in Copenhagen University. Greenland's tiny population rocketed by 1970 and it had almost doubled. Mr. Ruud believes that the rationale for introducing the coil was partly financial, but also the result of colonial attitudes. There's an obvious interest in trying to limit the growth of the population, he says, adding that it reduces the challenges of providing housing and welfare services. A higher portion of young women, single mothers, was another concern that prompted family planning initiative. Doctors wrote about the coil initiative in journals, perceiving it as success. Mr. Ruud adds, records show the birth rate halved in just a few years. Katrine Jacobsen from Nuuk says she was only 12 when she had the coil fitted and remembers being taken to the doctors by a relative's girlfriend in 1974. She had the coil for almost 2 decades, holy shit, and suffered pain and a string of complications. In her late 30s. Her uterus was removed. It's had a big impact on my life. I never had children. I never told anyone. I always thought I was alone. Today's IUDs are small teeth-like devices, but the earlier in the 1960s were S-shaped and much larger. In a uterus that had never been pregnant, it would give me more bleeding, more pain, a bigger risk of infection, says a gynecologist in the Queen Ingrid's Hospital in Nuuk. In the 1990s and 2000s, she and her colleagues came across patients struggling to conceive who were unaware they had the coil. It was not a big number, she says, but it was also not unusual. In a couple of cases, we were able to date the IUD back to women who had abortions and probably had it placed after an abortion without being told. According to Greenland's Human Rights Council, conventions on family and life and privacy were breached. We need to get it investigated to know whether or not it was actually a genocide, says the council's chairperson, adding, we don't want to whitewash the report.
Wow, that's massive.
Yeah. Sad.
That is huge. Really, lots of things. My first thing is I never knew that, this is my ignorance about the world, that there was I just didn't consider an indigenous population, but I guess if you think about media and what you might see, I guess Eskimos are indigenous, that kind of stereotype. There's an indigenous population. And Greenland for the UK, when you're a child, is a place where Father Christmas lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had no idea about an indigenous community living there. Inuit people.
Inuit, I do believe so. Yeah, and I think there are different. Well, anyway, the one I was talking about was that I heard was in Canada, but Inuit were one of the ethnically indigenous people that live in Canada as well. So, but there were others, and she was trying to explain the difference, that not everybody is an Inuit and that they don't really call themselves Eskimos. That's what.
I'm sure they don't. I'm sure that's a Western label.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, I'm sure this has happened in other countries where there's been colonization and they're trying to, stem the population, but it's cruel and shouldn't have been done. But
I guess, yeah, part of me can't get my head around it.
Mm.
I mean, it's more about the time as well, in the 60s.
Yeah.
I just think it's just, well, obviously it's inhumane and it's cruel. It's almost might be a genocide. And when they investigate it, I guess they'll decide. But then
Yeah.
the rationale, I'm just like, what is the rationale? Is it, yeah, to control the population?
Yeah. And I think people don't realize how like impactful that is to a population, like how much hurt and whatever people carry with them.
Mm.
Because like and you know, around colonization, and people are so wanting, you know, the indigenous population to like move on. Like,
I
oh,
know. Just
happened.
get move on. It happened
Yeah.
ages ago. Get over it.
It's just whatever. And I just don't think they understand the impact. Even it was weird, but I watched one of these movies yesterday, a South Indian movie actually. And it was all very you know, stylized and whatever, but it was all around the English occupation of India. And
Right.
like it was not based on anything. I don't believe it was based on any true events or whatever, but it was literally the whole thing was about, you know, that population in that town like fighting back
Mm.
of the English, and you know, like just celebrating that they were like killing, you know, English soldiers and things like that, and also showcasing, you know, the cruelty and whatever that happened when the English were in power. But you know, and to me, I think Indians, I guess, are quite empowered, but they still feel so wronged by it. So I think, you know, to say that you just need to get over it is crazy for people to assume that that's going to happen. Yeah, so that's really sad.
I just can't get over it's young girls. I mean,
They're 12 years old.
I
Like,
know. It's like it's definitely abuse.
oh yeah, and to be honest, it should be charged as assault, because you didn't have permission to touch that person. You
Mm.
certainly didn't have permission to put something in their body that's going to affect the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And those coils, like at the basic level, those coils are not supposed to be in your body for that long, especially the old ones, you know, that have been in there for decades. That's terrible. No wonder they were so sick and had to have their uterus removed and stuff. That's, yeah, shocking, really.
I just can't get over it. I mean, there's like I've heard people in bad taste joke about sterilizing groups
Mm.
of people in your low socioeconomic um environments, and it's like it's not even funny.
Yeah,
Uh, wow. It's like, oh, it's just shocking. It's a shock that actually.
yeah,
And what will they do? Is
yeah.
it just to change history? What will they do to address it? Because
Well,
it's the trauma. I can't even imagine how I would have felt if somebody, it's not even, it's like a sexual assault actually,
it is, yeah.
because you're young, you're a child, and it's not even medical, it's more than medical. And I get it's a medical procedure, contraception, but when you're 12-year-old, you want somebody shoving something up you do, Lally.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, that is sexual assault, because you can't, like, a pelvic exam at that age, like, that would be terrible, you know. And yeah, it's just not done, you know? And certainly not without their permission. Like, that is the definition of assault. But,
Yeah, but even if they had the permission,
oh, yeah, exactly.
um,
But
imagine how you'd feel as a parent to know that's been happened to your
yeah,
child.
exactly. Or like when you're older and you're trying to have kids and you don't know, you can't understand why, you know, that you can't conceive. Um, but yeah, no, that is.
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard of that happening anywhere else in the world, but like you said,
I think there has been forced sterilizations that I've heard of.
oh, like coercive kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I think there are practices like that, but
Where?
well, the ones I've heard of was in India to control the population.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they found other methods of doing things like that. Well, over here, obviously in Australia, we talk about the stolen generation and them taking away all those children that were half or a quarter white or whatever from their families so they could be placed in a school and somewhere else and have their whole history erased. And there's still people, kids now, well, adults now, who are figuring out that they're Indigenous because they've never been told and there were no records of them. They were adopted out to.
But there's two things there. Is it purely to control the population growth?
Well, the one in India, I believe so. But
Yeah.
the one in Greenland and the one here, definitely, it wasn't just about population. Well, certainly the one in Australia, that was more genocide than anything else.
Yeah, but that wasn't well, all right, yeah, I see what you're saying, but to me, it's two different things.
Yeah.
One's to get rid of an ethnic group.
Which is what they were trying to do, which they were trying to breed out, right?
Yeah. And then the other one is controlling a population that's growing that you have a financial responsibility for.
Yeah.
So it's pretty, yeah, it's pretty horrific. And like it's since, do you know what still strikes me? Like people talk about the most horrific things being some of the wars.
Yeah.
You know, Second World War, you know, Nazis. I'm sure there's other wars, horrific wars as well. And they get talked about as something in the past that we've learned from. But then you hear stories like this.
Yeah.
Way after the war, things like this happening. And you just think, how did somebody rationalize that?
Yeah. Well, I think so. For me, I think when you look at someone that isn't, and then tell yourself they're not human.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, you know, you get this 12-year-old girl, you're a doctor and you're a nurse. I don't know if there was nurses there. It's not clear. You've probably got your own children.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you do this to your own child?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awful. Oh, yeah. Okay. It's just left a bad taste. I really want to know the outcome of that, so maybe we can
follow that up, but
follow that up because, yeah, I'm just thinking the trauma. The trauma, like you said, people, oh, get over it. You know, it was ages ago. Stop going on about it. Blah blah blah. And even here, sometimes I hear people talk about it's politically correctness and they just need to move on.
Yeah.
But people don't realize about generational trauma.
Yeah.
And it's carried forward. But I'm also of the mind that holding on to pain, holding on to that isn't healthy and doesn't help you. Absolutely agree. But it doesn't mean you can't recognize that it exists and that it's a thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do agree that people can find a way to heal their trauma. But maybe part of that is acknowledging, having it being acknowledged.
Yeah, I think that's always been a big thing for survivors, right? Just to have the
acknowledged that yes, it happened. Yes, it was horrendous and it was wrong. At least those things.
Yeah. Because I think the longer people deny it, the longer you would feel not heard. And the experience is not validated, right?
Yeah.
So that would be hard to move on from. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we have a positive news story.
Before you start, can just shake that off. Shake it off. Okay.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, because that's just that's the stuff for nightmares. Probably make a movie about that.
Yep. 100%. Okay. The children's picture book for dope black dads, basically. So 5 years ago, Marvin Harrison inadvertently started a global movement. His private dope black dads WhatsApp group spiraled into an online and offline community in which more than 250,000 fathers discussed their experiences of being black, parenting, and masculinity in the modern world. Harrison, pictured above, and his children, Black 4 and Ocean 6, unusual names, but okay.
What are the names of his children?
Black, who's 4, and Ocean, who's 6.
So he has a kid called Black. Oh,
Yes.
that's interesting. I don't know if I'd call my kid black.
Yes.
I don't know if I'd call my kid a color,
Yes.
and especially black. If he was black, that's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
It's like calling your white kid white.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, although the name Gray is a thing, right?
it's a surname.
Oh,
Yeah. I've never heard it as a first name, Gray.
Oh, I've read it in your, ages ago in your Mills and Boons books. So I think it's very old school.
Gray's as a first name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Very
odd.
Yeah, but I think Gray's got a historical context from something like some sort of occupation. I'm trying to think is it a Grace? Is there a Grace such thing? I don't know. Grace Smith. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just something about that. But yeah, okay, interesting. Black and Ocean.
Ocean. Yes.
These are very hippie sounding names in my judgment. If
I have heard the name River.
River, yeah.
Name and also
we have River Phoenix, don't we?
Yes, exactly. Yep. And also Rain, which can be spelled because there's a rain.
Different ways of spelling in that Rain.
Exactly. And then I think there's an Indian name that matches up with that. So it doesn't actually mean rain. It means it's a different name.
Okay. And then we know someone called, well, I don't know them personally, but I know of someone called Sunshine.
Well, there you go.
Yep. Well, Joe's friend's called Sunshine.
Yep.
Okay. I'd rather be called Sunshine if I was going to be called anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind River. I don't know if I'd like Ocean. But
all right, just go. Just before you go into the story. Just before
you get
in the story, if you had to have a name like that, what would you pick for yourself?
No, I would either pick River or probably Rain. I don't know.
Okay.
A name like that.
Okay, I would probably pick Sunny or Sunshine.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sunny as a nickname, like lots of my cousins have the nickname Sunny. I don't know why, but it's the same with lots of my cousins are named Bobby. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I don't know. River, yeah, I could get used to River.
Okay, cool. River is your new name. All right.
River's my new name. Okay. Right. He has now published his debut children's book, I Love Me, a collection of positive affirmations for preschool age children designed to boost confidence, enhance self-image, and promote resilience. I've always done daily affirmations with my children. Things like, I am loving, I am powerful, I am kind. Harrison told Positive News. It started as a bit of fun, but it became a real game changer for them, giving them tools that they could use for when they feel afraid. In a time where being Black can potentially create challenges other children wouldn't have to consider, I saw real power in these simple techniques. The Dope Black Dads movement may now encompass a multi-award-winning podcast, books, and a spin-off Dope Black Mums community, but it all began with a single text on Father's Day in 2018. Harrison, a marketing executive from Hackney in London. Now, I didn't realize he was from London until obviously I read this. I thought he was from the US. Anyway, whose own father had been absent from his life, sent a heartful message to his male friends. He admitted that he was struggling to connect with his kids, and the friends began to share their own challenges. Often these were linked to cultural beliefs that Harrison believes are unique to Black fathers. Over time, and with the support of his new community, he said he has eventually become the father he wanted to be. I Love Me is the first of two book series Harrison has signed with Macmillan Children's Books, illustrated by Diane Yoon, with the follow-up date of 2023. He also has a book aimed at fathers in the pipeline. I want to encourage men to become better dads, husbands, and men by providing tools to help them navigate who they are and move forward in their lives.
I love that. I really love it. I just love that story and somebody's doing that and that's happened for him. Dope Black Dads. Oh, I'm really curious about the cultural, what was it? The cultural
challenges that are unique to
yes.
men.
I'm wondering what they are.
Yeah.
I can only guess. I'm thinking of my own experience, childhood.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, my dad never did my hair, couldn't do it.
Yeah.
To be
I
fair,
think,
my mum wasn't great at it either.
yeah. Yeah, I guess so. It would must have been hard for her though,
Mhm.
understanding the type of hair. So
Yeah, absolutely. Totally get it.
yeah.
Just so interesting. And I love that. What was it? What's the name of the book?
I love me.
I love me. I love that. It's absolutely beautiful. What a beautiful message. And I totally agree that, there'll be black challenges unique to black kids, but not just black kids. I would say kids of color. There'll be
Yeah.
unique challenges to support them with that. I just think it's such a beautiful
Message. I think I got it confused with a movement in the US. I'm sure you would have heard of dads trying to do the hair for their black daughters, and not understanding, I think those single dads or whatever, and not having the experience. And then I think somebody started a class.
in the
And
hairdressers or something.
yeah, and
Yeah.
before they knew it, it was like completely flooded with, them trying to, like, lots of men trying to figure out how to do it. So I think that was them too. So
That's wonderful because it's better than the idea, if the idea is it's not a man's job
yeah.
and not even bother to try.
Yeah.
That's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a beautiful story. I am, I forgot it again. I love myself, is it?
I love me.
I love me. So coffee. I need coffee. This
Yeah,
is not
you
coffee.
need to,
I need
yeah.
coffee. I love me.
Breakfast, yeah,
Mm,
exactly. Because your mum didn't really know how to help you when you were younger with your hair, do you
mm.
think that changed, like, that affected your perception of your hair for the longest time?
No,
No.
no, because I didn't consider it. It's only retrospectively when I have that opinion because she did my hair.
Yeah.
But then, like, and I say this because it's retrospective, I didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
Like, she would do my hair like other kids, Caucasian kids, white kids would have their hair, like a plait, we call it plait or whatever,
Yeah.
picked ponytail, but a ponytail looked completely different on me,
Yes.
with my hair. And the only problem with those styles for this type of hair is that you're pulling back. You're always pulling the hair
Yeah,
to do a
exactly.
ponytail or to do one plait,
Wow. Yeah.
and that breaks the hair. So you'll see pictures of me as a kid, and I look like I have a lion's mane
Oh.
because it's the broken hair just at the front. I look like I have a mane.
Yeah.
But no, it didn't. None of that bothered me at all as a child. I didn't even know any different.
Yeah.
It's just after that, knowing more about my hair and how to look after it, I realized that, those styles weren't conducive. And plus, I never had curl. I never had a curl then because it wasn't styled that way. It was just brushed
Yeah, sure.
and put into something. So I'm not saying never actually. When I was really, really young, it was curl, like toddler age.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just interesting. Different cultural challenges. And yeah, I talk about that all the time. It's just funny. But I just love this book. I was thinking I'd buy it for my nephew, but it said it was preschool. He's a bit older now.
Yes.
But I love that. And actually it reminds me, someone I know has done something similar. And his book is called I Am Awesome.
Oh.
And again, it's specifically targeted at children to empower them to overcome challenges, feel good about themselves, and know that they are awesome. That's the whole point. And I bought the book and they got him to sign it for me. I'd say it's not as inclusive. It's a white Australian guy that's written this book, but he doesn't know any different, right?
Yeah.
I remember actually having a conversation with him because he wants to take this he wants to take this as online, as a global, it's a massive thing, and he genuinely really wants to help kids. Yeah, know their value, their worth, and believe in themselves. And that's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful idea. I really hope he's successful. And his characters, like he's got his main character is a child who's white, and there's two main characters actually. There's a white child, and then there's a girl who's darker skin, but he didn't. I think his initial intention was to use a First Nations character, but he avoided it because he said it was too hard. Because when he consulted about the appropriate way to represent that character, it just became too difficult, as in all the different requirements, and it just put it in a too hard basket basically, and ended up using a non-descriptive child that was slightly darker skinned, and there's no reference to what that heritage could be. But anyway, and we were having a conversation, and he really wants to take it to I don't know, like a children's series, like animation, wants to take it to the next level. And he was asked to do a brief and describe how you make it, how it was inclusive. And he was really quite confused about the question. So I was just coincidentally having a chat to him about it, and he brought it up. It was genuinely like, well, he was thinking more like his team of people working behind the scenes. There's women, there's, lots of women doing it. He doesn't understand the broader idea and the content. So I brought up the whole idea of representation, actually, and that's when he told me the story about the characters. But yeah, great idea. Wish he could be more inclusive in his story though, because Australia is more diverse. People outside Australia probably think mostly it's just white people, which is a fair assumption. What you see in media and books, and I just personally think I wish his book was a bit more representative of all the different types of children that live here and grow up here.
Well, yeah, because I guess the rest of the world sees the Hugh Jackmans or the Chris, what's his face?
Hemsworth.
Or Margot Robbie or something.
Yeah.
All Australians. I can't think of an Australian export to the movies or something that isn't
an Australian export. Well, we can think of US ones for sure, and British ones. I don't think of British. Yeah, there's lots actually. But you're right. I can't think of any non-white Australian exports.
Yeah, and I know that there's obviously talented people of all color here, but for whatever reason, it hasn't happened so far.
No, maybe this comedian. Was that comedian? What's he called? He used to Triple J. I don't know if he's internationally famous though. Anyway,
there are a couple of comedians, I think, and journalists and things. Like Waleed comes to mind.
Yeah, but is he international? Is he an export? I don't think he is. No.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, it was the comedian. I can't remember his name. I've seen him. We've both seen him at the comedy club.
Yeah. I need a coffee too, probably.
I can't remember his name. All right, I'm going to give you a scenario.
Oh, yeah.
Before we wrap up, right? What would you do? I feel like we need a little music intro to this segment. Okay, so the scenario, Meenal, is
right. Hopefully, my juices are flowing. Yeah, I
don't know why you said that. Let's just forget you said that.
Okay.
Let's just forget you said that.
Let's forget I said that. Yes.
All right. A co-worker asks a black woman on your team if they can touch her hair.
Oh God.
What would you do?
Say no, Jesus.
What would you do? And actually, this could be me and you. This could be you in the office, and somebody's like, somebody comes up to you, can I touch your hair? And actually, it has happened. What would you do, Meenal?
Yes, I would. I think I would genuinely say, like, did you really ask that? Like, because I'd just be like, you for real right now?
Okay.
Because, I also I'm like, it's not nice to be so confronting with people, I guess, because most of them are not coming from a place of, like, I think it's mostly curiosity. So yeah, I think I would be like, I think I'd ask them, why do you want to touch your hair?
And I go, oh, it's so, I know, oh, it's so beautiful, it's so curly. I just want to see what it feels like.
Yeah. I'd be like, well, there's lots of things that we're curious about, even me, but we don't necessarily need to touch. We can just be like, oh, look, it looks lovely.
Okay. Oh, all right then. I'll ask you another question.
Yeah.
What's the problem with it?
Oh, well, because I think it's one of these things that was done without people's permission for so long, and it puts the person that you're asking for under pressure to like be like, oh, especially in like a work environment or something like that, when you're trying to be, and say that person is someone who you're reporting to, or is higher, whatever, in the position, then are you really going to be like, people might feel like, oh, they can't say no, so it's like a personal boundary that we should now be like, we should be at the level where we're just like, just don't, like, if you're curious about people's hair and whatever, if you have a friend, that would be a better place to be like, oh, hey, I've always been a little bit curious. But I think in work situations, things like that are just, yeah, I don't know, it's just not the right place. It's the same with trying to touch someone who's pregnant, like, for different reasons. It's just a body personal space thing. But yeah, it's just
all right. So for you, your perspective, it's about personal space and appropriate behavior.
Yeah, exactly.
And then also, and your position in the workplace, like, and being able to say, well, no, I'm not really comfortable with you touching me anywhere.
Exactly. And also about the fact that I understand people are curious, but that doesn't need, like, somebody else doesn't have to, give into your curiosity and and educate you and things like that. It's just, I think lots of people of color are just like over trying to like educate people about these kinds of things. It's just like, leave me alone,
Yeah, I do know. I do know. Because this is one I've had for a long time. I mean, I get people coming up to me and say, I really love your hair. And that's lovely. I like that. It's fine.
Yeah.
Not so many people touching, but I have had that a lot for sure.
Yeah.
This is, and I totally get that curiosity is the intention. But imagine that you were the person where somebody's always coming up and, can I touch your, I don't know, your hair or your skin or whatever.
Exactly.
You start to get that. It implies you're different.
Yeah.
And of course we're all different.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. So that's how it is a problem.
Yeah.
Because they've given a word here called othering.
Yeah.
So you're treating them as different or as an outsider. So you're making them feel other, outside, and objectified and disempowered.
Yes.
And self-conscious and on guard. And that's all these things I never thought about, but yeah, that's exactly how you feel. Because you're wondering, you look at people looking at you, what are they thinking? Are they you could become conscious of your appearance.
Yeah.
Whereas why do you need to be conscious of your appearance all the time?
Yeah.
And like you said, it depends on the context. But it may be an unwanted physical interaction. And it can even feel like, I guess, under other circumstances, like sexual harassment. It really just depends on the context. But this is, in a workplace. So yeah, it's that whole idea of feeling other, feeling different, feeling like an outsider, especially when it's a common thing.
Yeah. It's
completely different if you're really good friends.
Yes.
And, they have this admiration for your hair that they talk about. And they just said, I really would love to know how it feels. Can I, that's different, completely different from this kind of scenario. So what you could do is if it was you about, me and you, and somebody does that to me, you could jump and say something like, hey, asking to touch a Black woman's hair is not okay. Or you could do, why do you need to touch it?
Yeah, exactly.
It looks great from here.
Yes.
Um,
Be happy with that. Well, it kind of reminds me a little bit about, when we went to that dance thing,
yeah.
and I swear there were like 5 or 6 people who stopped you and was like, can I take a photo with you? Obviously you look gorgeous. But I think it was also because, I don't know, and the more it happened, the more, like the first few times I was like, oh, she looks great, it must be a thing. But the more it happened, I was like, wait, hang on a sec. Like, what's going on here? It was just so, yeah, weird for me. And I was just, I didn't know what was happening. But I think it wasn't, I think you were okay with it.
I'm okay with it now, because why am I okay with it now? I think it's not okay, but I don't get offended by it now, because I don't know, I've got some resolution about um being objectified or being different. Because the fact is, and actually, do you know what it is? It's because I am a foreigner in this country.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I am different.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's a fact. But when you're in a country where you're raised and there's a lot more people that look like you as well.
Yeah.
But you born and grew up there, to feel other and different is not as comfortable.
Yeah.
Because then it's suggesting you don't fit.
Yeah.
So that's why here it's completely different for me, because I am different. I'm a foreigner. You don't have a lot of Black people here.
No, I think that's changing slowly. But yeah, I suppose when you did first come.
Yeah, it's definitely changing. And then in companies in general, it's a discussion about an example of why you could need anti-racism training or allyship programs. This is the whole diversity, inclusivity, equality comes in. These are the types of things you address, because some people just have no idea why that's a problem.
Yes.
They'll say, some people are just curious. That's not, what's the harm in that? And when we're telling you what the harm in it, we're telling you as people where it happens to us regularly, what the harm is.
Exactly.
Why it happens. The request may be motivated by hair bias. The idea that there's something exotic, wrong, or unprofessional about a Black woman's natural hair. And actually, all these things are true, because I felt in various stages of my life, I felt that this natural hairstyle, was not attractive. Not attractive, horrible, wrong, or exotic. And the exotic just comes from a minority, basically, doesn't it? The idea of exotic. Like, I mean, traveled around the world, and you go to countries that are primarily people of color, whether that's Black or whether that's Asian or another, or some sort of Mediterranean, and people that are really fair skinned and red hair will be exotic. You might even probably get red hair people going to China when people want to touch their hair.
Yes, and I do know that they have like photos.
The whole photo thing. That's the whole exotic thing. And why I wouldn't be offended by that is because you are exotic. You're in a country where that's
not the norm.
Not the norm. And so I get it, as long as people understand, learn to understand that you're making people feel other and different. But specifically for Black people, there's the hair thing, where it, even intrinsically, a lot of Black people would straighten their hair to look more European.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to, going to an Asian country or somewhere else where white or red hair is considered, different and other, when people are asking to take photos and things, it's coming from a perspective of admiration.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
That's a little bit, the context also makes a difference, right?
Yeah. the context as well and where it's coming from. It can be coming from an admiration and an exotic, and this is beautiful, or be coming from this is awful. Oh, got a picture of this.
Or
So
I've never seen this before, and this is so odd,
yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
So,
Odd, wrong,
yeah.
exactly. And even more for Black people, because the bias began in the slavery era,
Yes.
and reinforces what is beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's been a problem, really personal problem for me as well. And then even some companies will still prohibit natural Black hairstyles.
Yeah, that's crazy. Did we cover a story where one of the swimmers,
it's the swimming thing with the swimming caps.
Yeah, exactly. And I have heard so many stories about Black athletes having to cut their hair or they can't swim, or I think there was one for wrestling where they were like, no, your hair isn't coat, so you need to cut it, and they cut it at the side of it's just. Yes.
Yeah, it's really bad. But like you say, there's still companies now that would say that your hair isn't appropriate for the workplace, which crosses a personal boundary.
It really does.
It really does. So that is why it's a problem. People don't understand why it's a problem. That's why it's a problem.
So it's a weird question, but men who have to shave or company dress code. What do you feel about that?
I don't see why men would have to shave. I mean, I'm thinking like, right, what are the extreme is that a thing? Is that really a thing? Or do men feel they have to shave? Because I know that men are like, oh, I'm going to the office, I need to shave. But is that actually enforced, or is that just an idea?
Look, it probably isn't anymore because so many people are working from home. But I don't know. I remember this because of a story my brother said back when he first started working, when he came to the office and he had, a few days worth of growth or whatever. And his manager pulled him aside and said, right, you need to shave the next time you come to the office. And actually, the reason why it sticks out, I think he actually told him to go and shave.
Oh, really?
Actually go home and shave or whatever it was, and then when he comes back he needs to. So I was like,
interesting. I think I actually thought about this. I can't remember why. I was another train of thought. I think in the workplace you want to look presentable, tidy. You don't want to look like you just dragged yourself out of bed and pick your clothes up off the floor.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
So shaving and not shaving, if you have a beard, that's different from a messy face. I don't know how to describe it. There's a bit of a difference. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how. But then I remember there was a guy I used to work with, really long hair, really big beard. Looked kind of messy, really. However, so what? Like he didn't interfere with his work. I don't know. I think it's more acceptable to have a beard now. I don't see a problem with people having beards if that's what they want to do.
I think it did. I think there was someone at work who was like, "Oh, the beard is just annoying because of the mask, because the mask doesn't fit properly."
Right.
So that was the only other thing. They were like,
"Well, that's a practical thing, right?"
Exactly. It wasn't so much that somebody's telling them that they need to. They just were saying that I can't get the mask over my whole beard. So
yeah. No, I don't think it's anything at the moment. So yeah, interesting though that was something that he was asked to do.
Yeah.
But I always think it's an old-fashioned idea.
I think it is. I think he was, in his early 20s, and my brother looks older than that when he isn't. So maybe it was, so
yeah, maybe. All right, we better wrap this up because I have to edit this.
Yes.
Oh, it was really good talking to you. Really good stories today. I'd love to hear if anybody's experienced the whole "can I touch you because you're exotic" thing, and whether it's coming from a place of, oh, that's a bit wrong, a bit odd, or coming from a place of, oh, that's amazing and a beautiful and a kind of admiration kind of thing. I'd be curious to hear what other people's experiences are of that. And yeah, that's it really.
Okay.
Anything else? No? All right then. We'll speak to you next week.
See you then.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.